Hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward!
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey. And you're rocking with your favorite vet on the net. Welcome to First Formation Morning Sports Talk. So come on and fall in as we get to talking about the sports. We know it's a lot getting there to go on. There was plenty of things that went on yesterday. A plethora, a bevy of things when you look at it. Of course, let's get out the way before Bishop was to come on if he is Grace was his president this morning. Congratulations to the women's World Series champions, not one time, not two times, but three times back to back to back champions of the Women's World Series champions. That's the Oklahoma Sooners. If he was here, we would hear her loud and illustrious Boomer Sooner, but them ladies have completed what has not been done over the course of the last 30 years, and that's, of course, pulled off the trifecta consecutively. So, of course, with that win, they have the opportunity yet again, which is a current favorite to once again pull off this feat for what would be a fourth time in writing their names in the history books. Um, they did it over the Florida State Seminoles, and which is the second time in 3 years in which they've competed against them, and they have been victorious. So not only did they knock off three in a row, they also did it twice against the same team in that standpoint when they won it in 2021, which first started this run. Most valuable player, of course, was Jordan Ball, the freshman pitcher. So she claims the most outstanding player of the MOP as she pitched a pretty good game in in the first of three game series on Monday night, or correction, not Monday night. Well, I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday night, uh, and then Tuesday night, and then comes back in last night and pulls up the relief duty to get the dub. So shout out um, to the women College World Series champions, Oklahoma's Thunder. I mean, correction, Oklahoma Sooners, as they pull off the improbable. Well, it was likely going to happen. They get it done. They get it taken care of. They take care of business. Get their third of three, and look to basically break that record again uh, next year if they can get a fourth championship. Staying in with the swing of the long ball, hard ball. Of course, softball is a little different. You did have a games last night in the MLB. Los Angeles Dodgers were able to complete a 6-0 victory over the Cincinnati Reds. Starting pitcher Kershaw started for the Dodgers, was able to get 9 batters to fan. That's 9 strikeouts on the night as they went on to a shutout. The Minnesota Twins, Tampa Bay Buccaneers faced off. Uh, Tampa Bay victorious by the score of 4-2. Baltimore Orioles and Milwaukee Brewers 6-3 for the Orioles. San Francisco Giants and Colorado Rockies 6-4 for the that's Rockies advantage. Chicago White Sox and the New York Yankees in a doubleheader game one. The White Sox were victorious 6-5. The Phillies and the Tigers in their makeup game from the seventh 3-2 for the Phillies. Blue Jays were able to edge out the Astros by the score of 3-2. Boston Red Sox smacked by the Cleveland Guardians 7-3. 10-3 that in that game. The Mets met up with the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves edged it out in what was a huge scoring game, 23 total runs. Braves get the victory 13-10. Game two of the doubleheader for the White Sox and the Yankees, making up the game on the 7th. The Yankees were victorious 3-0, getting the shutout in the second game. Chicago Cubs and the Los Angeles Angels 3-1 Angels. And last but not least, the Washington Nationals and Arizona Diamondbacks, of course, due to the poor air quality as they deal with the fires from Canada, was postponed, and the game is looking to be made up on the 22nd of June. So, of course, if you look at instead in the MLB, to be able to talk about and bring up and speak on. Um, Yes, it is Friday. What's going on, TT? Glad to have you information with us. Yes, Friday, nonetheless, always uh illustrious day. Another weekend is upon us. That means it's another week that's supposed to be completed in this year. And the month, already halfway through the month, halfway through the year. So you don't know, never know what's coming up, what's going to be held. But in any case, I hope everyone's having a gracious start to their weekend, and also have a lot of things planned going in, always being safe in the process. Um, but just talk about, of course, I'm trying to think if I want to speak on this. Maybe I'll hold it. Maybe I'll hold it to a different time. Or maybe I just do things a little differently and not necessarily speak to or speak about that. So yeah, I keep that in my back pocket. Um, Going back into basketball, let's do that instead. So in the NBA, as we know, as we all know, tonight is game 4, I believe. Is tonight? Is it tonight? I believe it's tonight. Tonight is game 4 for the NBA Finals. Correction, for the NBA Finals. So, of course, with that being said, the winner of this game can even go up 3-1 with a commanding lead, going back to their own home to potentially close out and finish it on Monday, or one of the two teams can tie the series 2-2 with a different outlook and aspect of going back Monday, to where in-state is if they tie it 2-2, then they'll go back Monday just trying to get even jostle to get a position, which if someone gets the coveted 3-game third game of the series, and then it's just basically a winner winner chicken dinner. So it's even Friday. It's like the win today is very pivotal in state. So with that being said, what are some things we can look at or take a look at for the pregame? Actually, of course, one I think in my opinion is, what do you do with Jokic? If you stop Jokic, can you stop the team? Now, have we tossed that question around? Maybe in a sense, um, but not necessarily. It's always the conversation has always been the real joke played too. Okay, I got you, Milkovich. All right, I got you. So can they stop? Can they stop? It's the Joker. Let's say stuff. Can they stop Joker? Is Jokic stoppable? Can they put him in position to where if he doesn't get off and he doesn't spin, then he doesn't. The team isn't effective. In state is, I don't know. I would like to say yes, that would be work. But if you stop Jokic, that means you have to potentially avoid everyone else, which hasn't seemed to be able to be done. You have to stop other players from getting from becoming asset to the organization by pouring into the fact that they can still put these clamps on Nikola Jokic. We just seen on the other night that he was able that Jamal Murray was able to pull down a 30-point triple double. It was a 10-10, but in any case, he pulled down 30-point triple double. You had Christian Braun off the bench that was able to pour in 15 points. And then you still had other players that was able to get 7 or 8 points here and there, and which was some of the, of course, Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon, I think, accounted, and Caldwell Pope accounted for 19 points total. So that wasn't expected, especially from your 3 starters to get 19 points total. But of course, like I said, unexpected Christian Brown, I'm saying, and then of course the other Brown were able to produce, I think, 25 points apiece. 25 points total, and then you have it. You have what helped to get the game. So, is it probable to put it in and stop Nikola Jokic? He's basically chasing what is a historical point as a big man or in the NBA Finals. Of case, in any case, no one has done it since Moses Malone, Moses Malone in '83, Michael Jordan in '91, Olajuwon in '94, Dirk in 2001, James in '16, Giannis in '22, and lastly, of course, such a dominant showing from Steph Curry in 2023. What possibly can Miami do to stop him? Jokic has already collected 11 triple doubles in 18 games, just 7 games in which he didn't have a triple double, and the other ones he was hella close, except for maybe one. I think he only had 6 assists. As we said, when Jokic is getting these assists, then that means the team is doing graciously, and it's probably almost a foregone thought or effort to think they're going to be able to compete with the team that night. Out of all 3 games in the finals, he has collected a triple double, looking to potentially collect another one yet again tonight, making it the 4th time, the 12th time in 19 games in which he's collected triple doubles. Extremely high IQ in state as we continue to talk about it. He's currently shooting 33 of 14, averaging 33 points, 14 rebounds, and 9 assists. So just 1 assist short of averaging a triple double so far, which I'm very sure he's going to eat up tonight. 59% shooting overall against Miami. What can you say? If a player, and we're not talking about a player, we're not talking about just a player, we're not talking about wing, we're not talking about a guard, we're talking about a down low post presence that can shoot, dribble, and score. But maybe not so much dribble, but basically whose presence is definitely felt all day, all night. 33 points, 14 rebounds, and 9 assists for a center. And it's all for everyone to see in the most primest of times, being telecast during the championships. Is this probable run just good? Is it just over? Is it the year for the Denver Nuggets fans, or do we have something left coming out of Miami? What's good? Stan, glad to have you information this morning, brother. What's good, man? I got some conversation. We're gonna talk a little bit about some Carolina things too later on as I get to it before we get off the show. So just stay tuned, fam. Tap in. Additionally, when you go back to another point to be made, can you put a focus on any one of the role players or bench players to where if Jokic is going to get his, which 33, 14, and 9 says he gets his all the time, every day, all day, can they finally stop these other players? Can Eric Spoelstra pull up and draw up something that's going to stop anyone else outside of Jokic and Murray to impact? Brown, of course, is has been elevated to a starting position, I believe, over Contavious Caldwell Pope, which, in my opinion, is a problem because now you know Contavious Caldwell Pope, I think a 9 year, 10 year veteran, has a ability. He's been here before. He's a champion already. Got the champion in LA 3 years ago. He's been a champion already. So now you have a champion caliber guard that's on the bench, swing man that's on the bench, and you're bringing in a elevating, excelling guard, rookie off the bench, and now he's cooking. And then you got Bruce Brown is cooking. So Christian, the Brown brothers, I guess you could say, Christian, and Bruce have prove their purpose, I guess you could say. In which, of course, I guess that's what it's supposed to all be about. They're players on an NBA team. They was drafted by an NBA team to do exactly what it is that they're doing now. But who's better, KCP or Christian Braun coming on late? Of course, I think KCP is a better defender, but do you need that at the time, or do you need someone to keep pace? I guess it's a little bit different. If we was talking about the Miami Heat, you probably would say I want a defense because we got plenty of people that can get the offense. But in the case when we're talking about it for the Denver Nuggets, it's different. It's a whole lot. The concept and everything else is different. Of course, you want to put your best players on the court. It's very advantageous to be able to have a multitude of players that can go get you buckets and some that could defend, um, or people that are basically aren't going to be fearful of the moment. And that's what we currently seems like you have in rookie Christian Brown. So now, knowing this, what do you do? Is Eric Spoelstra impacted? Brown has impacted 2 games. Christian Brown has impacted 2 games of the series, and this is only game 4. So he's impacted game 1 and game 3, which are both games in which the Denver Nuggets have won. So what does that tell you from a simple aspect? Christian Brown, when he has a good game, or I guess you can say a mediocre game, the Nuggets tend to win. Again, when a role player or a bench player has a good game, the Nuggets tend to win. If that was the truth, if that was to be the truth tonight, then there's going to be trouble, trouble, trouble for Miami in their home. Has it been since a time for Miami when they've been swept during their game, during their season? I don't think so. I'm saying at home, have they lost every game at home? Um, I know at one point the Denver Nuggets were undefeated at home. Miami took care of that, taking game 1. Then they lost game 2. Correction, winning game 2, uh, but then come back and get, I ain't gonna say blown out, but get smacked up at home for game 3. Now here it is, game 4 in their home. Do they come back and do the improbable, that probable, get that and win, and send the series back to an even keel, to where they don't have to worry about necessarily looking down, that they feel like they're staring down the barrel, uh, with only one game to play and going back to Denver after just coming out of Denver, having to deal with um, the elements, the altitude, and everything. Um, I don't know. We're going to see, but it could be all on another swing player, being that of Christian Brown, to where he doesn't come, or does Spoelstra get a chance to look at him, even though he's seen him, and come up with something different. Like last time, game 2, we had a huge showing from some Gabe Vincent. Now coming back again, if it keeps in that same vein, does someone else step up? Do we see a Max Struess come in, hot shooting, lighting up scorching up the nets, to making it to where it's like, okay, this is something. But I'm very sure Mike Malone has is ready for that. Who is it that Denver may have? I mean, Miami might have that no one's paying attention to where now we can see. Okay, there's going to be a showing. Does Tyler Hero finally make a comeback? I know it was discussed that saying that he's almost there, but he doesn't want to necessarily be come in to mess up the chemistry. At this point, they're down 2-1. If go down 3-1, is that when we have to wait to see him to where is the when the game when is needed the most? I don't know. What does it? What do we see potentially coming out during the this series? Of course, there's a possibility, which is like I said, Brown isn't as inept as KCP as a defender. So of course, if you have Jimmy Butler that's on him, if he switches to Jimmy Butler can go hard and exploit the matchup. Maybe we see a lot of that. Maybe we see a lot of Jimmy Butler deciding like, hey, I'm going in and putting that pressure on Brown. Maybe we see that coming in so that way they can open up the door for themselves. Because what we know is what comes to another point is the Miami Heat have a love hate relationship with that 24-foot strike. Miami tends to live and die from the free throw line. In game 3, of course, they went deep from deep 17 times. They went deep from deep 17 times, in which, in this case, wasn't bad because they had an opportunity. It was working for them. Almost had an opportunity to put the game into an overtime status, but it didn't come out. It didn't finish. Oh, well, correction. In that time frame in which they went for the shots from downtown 17 times in game 2, the Denver Nuggets almost still put the game in overtime. So a little bit different. So it's like if they're hence saying they're not hitting as much as they should be. Let me see where are the stats for where they're at currently. Um, when it comes to that. Um, in the series currently, they're being outscored 107 to 99. Well, it's obvious. Get to exact numbers. Let me see. Pretty close when it comes down to it. Both teams actually, Miami is shooting about 38% from three. Denver shooting 33%. So not too bad. The teams are at no, they're not. Turnovers are high in Denver's case. Like I just don't get it. They're hellaciously close. Um, well, actually, what sets them apart is the rebound department, and then of course that causes, I'm very sure, leak outs and stuff like that, which puts them. So there's definitely a disparage in points scored as well as rebounds, pretty close in as they're just 2 assists, a difference of 2 assists. Um, Advantage to the Denver Nuggets, so about the same when it comes to average of blocks. But of course, that doesn't really say anything because it's a matter of where it is at or how it's happening. Of course, almost every statistical aspect, Nikola Jokic is that dude. 33 points as we discussed before, 14 points in assists, 9 points. I mean, just being edged out by Christian Murray, who was averaging 10 assists in the game, and then of course Jokic averaging 1 block per game. So, and then of course on the opposite side of the spectrum, everything is done between Bam and and Butler. Um, who seems to be It seems like it's definitely going to be a position in which there's going to need to be um, an outpouring from someone on the Heat. Of course, currently the leading scorer is Bam, then Jimmy. Only two players averaging double figures in this series. That's Bam with the 23 points, 20 points from Jimmy Butler, and 16 points from Gabe Vincent. Of course, you have a couple that are on the cusp, but of course, we know just anything else that some people just come on and there's certain things that they do well. We haven't seen Caleb Martin. We've seen him show up last series. Why is he not getting the burn this series? Um, Max Struess, Kevin Love. We of course he comes in. Um, I think what needs to happen, honestly, is you're probably going to have to shorten up the rotation, especially here it being in Miami, and let some more players get a little bit of rest. Or kind of, you're going to have to pick and choose. I don't know how effective it is to continue to run Kevin Love. Of course, Kyle Lowry looked like he sustained the injury at the end of the third quarter, in the fourth quarter in Game 3. Uh, so maybe we get an opportunity to see more Nikola Jovic in that aspect. Maybe he gets some burnout. He gets in a few more times a game. Or they're going to continue to send a heavy dose of Gabe Vincent. Um, maybe you get an opportunity. Maybe Tyler Hero gets cleared and he gets the opportunity to go, as I think he has been practicing with the team. And then you kind of actually, when you look at it, the Denver Nuggets are in the same boat. Uh, Outside of the outpour of scoring from advantage for Nikola Jokic with his 33 points, 26-point average from Jamal Murray, and then Aaron Gordon 13 points, and then it starts to fall off with a smaller rotation there from there. Uh, Jeff Green 6 points a game, 6 points for Kentavious Pope, 7 points for Michael Porter, Christian Brown 7 points, and then 9 points roughly for Bruce Brown. So the teams are actually fairly similar when it comes to a points wise. Um, so it's I don't know why the difference. So of course, going forth, ideal hopefully is that they figured it out. I guess that's all you can say. No one wants to see the team down forever. Miami down 3-1, going back to Denver for Denver to have all the more fuel to close it out on their court in what is a hard environment to play into. Um, as I was just saying, Caleb Martin hasn't been impactful. Um, Hero still probably isn't going to be able to suit up, so he's potentially out for game. He's out for Game 4. No Victor Oladipo. So all this help which they had earlier that was productive for them is no longer there. So has Miami reached their ceiling? Is this it? Do they end up getting genuine swept out, or are they going to be able to pull up and pull out another victory? Can Bam be a problem to where it just doesn't it's not going to be they're not going to be able to contain him, and then with that happening, Jimmy Butler gets the opportunity to start to get his off, and now it puts them in a good position. Do we see that? And the call, of course, last but not least, as I kind of covered earlier, where does the help come from into Denver tonight? Who is going to be the new star, so to speak, for the Denver Nuggets going forth tonight? Do we see a Bruce Brown sliding? Um, is there going to be a someone else that basically their performance is going to give them additional hours to where that performance is going to be a complete different impact? And now, yet again, you have someone else that's doing. Is it Jeff Green tonight? Do we see Jeff Green tonight? Does he go for 19 points tonight? And then with the Brown brothers, basically contributing with 9 points maybe a piece. Jokic doing his thing, another triple double. Murray just etching out a possible triple double, and then Porter, Caldwell Pope, and Gordon finish it up with maybe 10 points, 12 and 16 or something like that. Is that enough for them to get a win? So a couple of things to look at and take in consideration for tonight's game. Definitely one of those things in which you don't want to see it go. At least I wouldn't want to see it to go from a competitive standpoint. Like at this point, I have no skin in the fight. The Lakers have been gone. The fact that we're talking about the Nuggets is clearly a point to where the Lakers have been gone for a gracious amount of time, being ousted with a sweep in the third round by the Denver Nuggets. Um, to where now is like I don't. It's not that I don't care, but I don't have any skin in the fight. It's just at this point, I'm just a fan of basketball, watching and waiting to see what potentially can come out. So we'll see if you're out there who you got tonight. Boston, Denver or Miami. um, let me see. So a couple of other things that come to mind, of course. Um, what we found out yesterday, Chris Middleton, as you know, for the Milwaukee Bucks, also had surgery yesterday. He had a surgical procedure done on his right knee. So he's expected to have a full recovery, resume with his workouts in later on in July. So just next month, of course, um, that's a huge point when you're looking at uh, Milwaukee coming back. Just have Adrian Griffin, new head coach, having a new person at the helm. Uh, so in those points, right? Like I said, new GM, um, correction, new coach, OGM. In that aspect, what if you have a coach that's taking a look at the player, right? So let's say in this particular, we're talking about Middleton. Griffin has been watching NBA, has watched teams because he was on the bench, someone's bench last year, and has competed against these players. So what is it? The probability is if you're a GM and you have a new head coach that comes in, and your player who's currently hobbled, coming off an injury, and the coach is able to come in and make a good point that maybe it's time to move on from this player. As the GM, what do you say? Because ideally, you want to give this coach players and players that he can work with. When has it been a point to where a GM has probably said, um, "Nah, we just going. I think he's going to make a great asset. I just need you to coach him." Even if it's probably not, saying in that coach's wheelhouse, I just need you to coach him. Y'all need to figure it out. Do GMs and coaches really talk or have a conversation, especially when it comes down to their personnel? Which you believe it, because we tend to hear a lot in reference to that. Of course, I know we hear a lot in reference to saying that players dictate the ties sometimes, but in this case, looking at Middleton, 31 years old, basically, um, a plethora of injuries, especially particularly to that right knee over the course of the last couple of seasons. Um, what can we see Prosty going forth? He has etched out a role being one of the being in that core for the Milwaukee Bucks. 3 times a starter, 3 time correction, 3 time All Star now at this point. 46% shooting from the field, 40% from the three. So he's showed he could be a problem. Um, Currently has a player option, so I'm very sure he's going to opt in, or maybe not. Nah, I'm very sure he's opting in. Coming off a surgery, um, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe does he? If Chris Middleton was to opt out, will he have a market in the league free agency, coming off a injury with 40% shooting, averaging 24 points a game. Would it be a market for Middleton, which would potentially make him maybe a highly more so sought after free agent than currently Chris Paul? Because Middleton has an opportunity to opt out. Currently, he's owed 40 million on his player option, and if he opts in, or he could become a unrestricted free agent. So, what is the likelihood of Chris Middleton opting out? I'm very sure none, due to the fact, like I said, he's coming off an injury, in which he just had surgery on his right knee. 31 years old. Um, Leaving 40 million on the table to potentially go somewhere else, or to potentially pull down more money. Uh, I don't know. We'll see. He hasn't opted in yet. He still has a little time. But of course, like we just talked about yesterday, knowing that Chris Paul is now uh, potentially well waiting, he still has to clear waivers. Um, I think he clears them this afternoon or early next week. Um, what is I've seen plenty of scenarios out there, and one scenario that has come to mind is the fact that the ideal is that um, Chris Paul is being released so that the Phoenix Suns could take a run at James Harden in Philadelphia if James Harden goes ahead and also denies his player option and becomes a free agent. What would that look like in Phoenix? James Harden and KD connecting again, especially with James Harden go to a more of a facilitator role, but still having the option and the ability to score and put up numbers with a Devin Booker and on DeAndre Ayton. Although it has been rumored that the Suns are also looking to potentially move DeAndre Ayton for the right price. So things start to become a little bit different, and which I think isn't a bad idea. Like, seriously, when you look at it, going with the two-star aspect, you just released or gotten rid of 14 minutes. Well, you haven't released or gotten rid of. You just got rid of a spot. Pardon me. You just got rid of the spot. Now you're talking about moving on a young talent in DeAndre Ayton to potentially bring back um, assets in this in the even in this in the possibility of building your bench. You still have two superstars that are able to get it, being Kevin Durant and Michael Porter. I mean, not Michael Porter, Devin Booker. Do you move a asset to bring back a different bench, to bring back a bench to be able to compete? Of course, we know Frank Vogel is now the head coach there. What potentially could be out there? Who's out there that they could probably get to swing to come in or move? Do they go after a guard? Do they bring in, i.e., someone like James Harden and move DeAndre Ayton to free up some space to fill the bench to make them a more valuable team? What does that look like? Who do they potentially go get? Um, so I guess it's a lot that's going on now for the Phoenix Suns now, especially with the with that move. Now, if I was to ask you, it's been some pretty good guard play in Phoenix over the last couple of years. So now, who would you say has been the best guard in the history of the Phoenix Suns? Only one guard has taken them to, I believe, only one guard has taken them to the NBA Finals. Um, well, I think they was they on the team then. I have to go look and see was these other two on the play. So now you have had Chris Paul, Kevin Johnson, Steve Nash, and Jason Kidd have all ran the offense for Phoenix Suns um, in the past. How would you number those guards? How would you put them in from 4 to 1, 1 to 4? How do you list those guards? Um, I actually think in this case, um, Kid would be a 4. At 3, I would put Chris Paul. At 2, although he is the only guard, I think, to take them to the Western Conference Finals. Did Steve Nash take him to the Western Conference Final? I have to look and see. But the only or to the championship, I would think I'll put Kevin Johnson at 3, at 2, and Steve Nash at 1. But of course, it was different times, uh, in which, of course, the D'Antoni uh, running gun type, high pace, quick pass, quick pace offense was conducive. Really helped to speak to Steve Nash's his attributes, which of course was effective. But I would think I would be it. Nash, Johnson, Paul, Kidd in that aspect. Still staying in more basketball. It has it has came out finally that Damian Lillard would not be seeking, as it was said, to go to Boston. And actually, if he had his choice, I mean, of course he does in the sense, I think he has a no trade clause. If it was said that they were going to trade him, 2 places in which he would love to go would be the Miami Heat or the Brooklyn Nets. Basically saying that he has very close ties with a couple of players there. Um, of course, his man is Malik in one being in Brooklyn that has a roster that he thinks he can work with, as well as Bam in Miami, of course, and being his dog, as he said, as he puts it. So what? How do you unboxing that? What that looks like? Could we see how effective could Damian Lillard, if Portland was looking to move on and trying to bring back assets for him, how effective could it be in Miami? Now, for one, it'll be a little hard in Miami because I don't think they have that many assets when it comes down to it, to be able to draw interest. But I think they have plenty when it comes down to Brooklyn. Of course, they were Miami. I mean, Miami, not Miami. Brooklyn would have to come off some of those trades assets that they pulled in for doing this time for trading Kyrie Irving as well as Kevin Durant. I don't know so much as in players because, of course, I think if you do that in players, you would have to have a backup plan of who you're looking to bring in free agency as well, after making the trade to bring in Dame Lillard during the offseason. So that would have to be something to take a look at. So maybe they have assets, but maybe not an assets, or it might be assets they're not willing to trade or get rid of. But um, to put Dame Lillard in the East, I think without a doubt he would eat. That would probably be the best case scenario for him to really um, get it, as he's currently going into his 12th season as a player. Um, and I'm not gonna say riding away in Portland because, but I'm very sure it'd be very honorable, fathomable for him to go in. So yes, he says it. He would prefer to go to Miami or go to Brooklyn if he had a choice. So transition to the NFL real quick. Um, I think I had something else. So hold on one second. Yeah. Okay. Transition to the NFL real quick. So taking a look at it, DeAndre Hopkins was released earlier in the last week, uh, and just yesterday had his first free agent visit with the Tennessee Titans. I think he's looking to go visit the New England Patriots, I believe, today or sometime next week. And then last night we hear rumblings that potentially um, Dalvin Cook is expected to be released today, or when that first came out, now Adam Schefter came back. ESPN's Adam Schefter came back and stated that it hasn't been a release yet, but the ideal is that potentially there could potentially be a trade for between the Dolphins or the Broncos for the running back out of Minnesota. Now, of course, now that we hear this, if the Minnesota goes heads and releases Dalvin Cook, there's a possibility for maybe him to be picked up by his home state, one of the teams in his home state, the Miami Dolphins. So when you break that down, what would that look like? Dalvin Cook, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. I forgot who they got at tight end now. They had to bring someone else at tight end now because they let Gesicki walk out the door. And Tua Tagovailoa. That could be a bad thing. And they still have a 1-2. I mean, running back by committee with a couple of running backs from San Francisco from last year. That could probably be a scary offense with Dalvin Cook in the fold. Now, same thing for the Broncos as well. The Broncos are Williams is still there as a running back. You bring in the Dalvin Cook. There's still Cortland Sutton. You got Sutton, Judy, um, Russell Wilson coming back for now the second year at the helm, to where expectancy is that he's going to be better in offense with a passing with a running game to free up cause some holes in the passing game. He might be better. He's not in my division, so I could care less, and we're not playing him. So that can be another situation, scary situation. But definitely, I believe Dalvin Cook in Miami can be a huge problem. So I'm anxious to wonder what that looks like. Of course, we know the Broncos. I mean, not the Broncos. Speaking of the Broncos, they made I guess, a move in free agency, picking up before Frank Clark, who was released by the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Three-time Pro Bowler Frank Clark was picked up and signed by the Denver Broncos yesterday on a 1-year deal that's going to pay him 7.5 million, 5.5 million in base salary, and then of course $2 million in incentives. So now the Broncos are starting to make some moves. I guess that's got to be crazy when you look at it. He's a team, uh, um, a division foe, coming from a team that is has been dominating their division, and going to a rival in that case. Not saying that he's going to go and have secrets or whatever case like that, but he is going to be able. He is an insider to a degree, and is going to be able to tell him he was released, and so now he's free to speak on what he knows. Although I'm very sure they're not going to continue to run the same type of defense, and he's going to have a different outlook. But he is um, now in that locker room, so that's definitely going to potentially make a difference. Um, Additionally, we just talking the other day about all the potentials for a Madden cover. Who can potentially be it? Well, EA Sports has came out with their game cover representative, and it is none other than Bills quarterback Josh Allen, who will be gracing the cover of the Love game Madden 24. Uh, So now when you look at that, um, Josh Allen graces the cover. I think the aforementioned Madden curse, as we say, was broken by somebody. I think so. It maybe isn't as big of a story outside the fact of you give him some love and with him being gracing the cover. Um, does that in the back of the minds of people? Does that still have a problem? It's like, wow, no, we didn't want him on the cover. What does that look like? Um, I know Bishop, if he's on here, be talking about it. Him being a huge Madden, he plays Madden effortlessly, so he loves the Madden game. But Josh Allen being the cover, I'm not mad at it as long as it wasn't the 49er. Because um, just to make sure that we don't have those type of problems. Um, I think something I covered next week. There was a poll that came out that was talking about the core players of the 32 NFL teams, in which I was looking at it, and some of the play surprised me. Maybe I'll cover that next week, um, as my time is running a little short today. Um, Going back, of course, into the college football, college as we talked earlier, college women's college softball. Again, congratulations to the Oklahoma Sooners as they win their third consecutive NCAA women's softball championship. Um, let's talk about college football for a second. Of course, you know, if you pay attention to the show, I'm a huge USC fan. Trojans, everything when it comes to me and the pigskin, the round ball, all that. I'm all about the USC Trojans. So, as we know, the USC Trojans and the UCLA Bruins will have made it to where they are going to lead the Pac 12 and transition into the Big Ten, yes, next year for the 24-25 season. With the addition of USC, the Big Ten will now consist of 16 teams in which they are going to abandon the divisional aspect and just play to get the best two teams in the division based upon their competitive play. So no longer worried about you're in the south or the east, the north, whatever case like that. It's just now 16 teams that's going to play ball, and at the end of the day, the top two teams will compete against one another regardless of the division, and go at it. So yesterday, what happened is the Big Ten was released what um, to be expected to take a look at as far as the divisions going into 2024. So basically, the huge thing is who is UC at USC going to be playing in 2024 and 2025 for their inaugural seasons in the Big Ten. Uh, of course, their first season they're going to play five total games from the division within the conference from home at the LA Coliseum. Of course, match it up against their the rival, the UCLA Bruins. But of course, also coming to the Coliseum would be Northwestern, Penn State, Purdue, and Maryland, in which USC will also be traveling to take on Wisconsin at home, Iowa at home, Illinois at home, as well as Michigan. So for the 9 games in which now there is a mandatory 9 game minimum that the teams will be playing um, in the Big Ten, 9 conference game total, and then of course uh, 3 other games in which USC think still has the Notre Dame contract to where they play Notre Dame, so that's the 10th team, and then probably whoever at large until next year, because next year they face off against LSU um, to kick off the bowl season. So 2025 LSU in LSU in Las Vegas next year. Additionally, next year they also will get to face off against going to um, Ohio State, Correction. I run it back. I run that back. I run that back. Let me backtrack. USC will be playing Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, and Wisconsin at the Coliseum. So Michigan comes to USC, comes to LA, Wisconsin comes to LA, Iowa comes to LA, Illinois comes to LA. They will go to Purdue, Penn State, Maryland, and Northwestern to face off against those teams, as well as drive down the road up the highway to face off against UCLA. In 2025, however, they will have a kickoff game versus LSU, September 1st, 2025, as well as travel to Minnesota, Ohio State, Rutgers, and Wisconsin in 2024. 2025, and then they will be welcoming UCLA, Penn State, Nebraska, Indiana, and Michigan State to the Coliseum in 2005. So both games, of course, revealed. Both season schedules revealed. Of course, we don't know the dates yet, but they will be facing off against those squads. And then additionally, like I said, Notre Dame and LSU will also be in the fold next year as they start their what is now their new norm in the Big Ten. Of course, when you look at that, the ideal is the new year. That would be a new time frame, different time frame, because you have a different look. As the expectancy is that Caleb Williams will most likely forego uh, a senior year. Would probably be one of the expected to be the top pick in the 2023-24, 2024-25 draft for the NFL, and go on to bigger and better things after potentially winning the national championship, as well as another Heisman Trophy out of the Trojan locker room, in which enters the 5-star recruit Malachi Nelson to take over the helm and basically take the USC into the Big Ten with those huge games that they have coming up. So very interesting. Looking forward to seeing that. Got some calendars marked on dates marked on the calendar. We'll be able to take a look at that. So of course, like I said, a little shorter time today, but I was able to show up and pull up and show up, give a little insight, talk about it a little bit. Of course, next week, Monday, we'll be right back here, same time, same channel. Maybe going over and talking about what was in the NBA as potentially we would have at that point had a game, the game as we talked about the game for the NBA, and then getting ready to talk about game 5, in which it would even be a tie series, or Denver be looking to close out. Um, I think we should be able to talk about the World Series, the men's portion, the college football World Series. More conversation in reference to um, in reference to well, oh, you know what? Before I go, I'll make sure to do due diligence. Last night, first time ever, the Florida Panthers were able to win their first Stanley Cup victory with a overtime victory over the Golden Knights, as they came back, fought their way back, and to win the overtime, winning by the score of 3-1, 3-2, I'm sorry, taking their first game in the playoffs, getting the win. Now they're only down 2-1, in which they will play again on Saturday to even one. Panthers will tie the series, or two, Golden Knights will go up 3-1, or looking to close them out on Tuesday. So you have that. That was a historic moment. Like I said yesterday, historic moment for the Oklahoma Sooners as they get their third consecutive championship. Um, Other things you're talking about, will we get an opportunity to see another heavyweight bout? As it was said, there is a mandatory bout being pushed, as Tyson Fury has to defend his belt against um, Joshua, or run the possibility of losing the WBC title. Uh, now you have Alexander Usyk, and Deontay Wilder, or potentially looking at getting it in. As you know, we already have Bud Crawford and Earl Spence fight that is on the docket that is coming down. Uh, Plenty going on. Never know what it is. So, but what you do know it is, that's my time for today. I greatly appreciate y'all rocking with me this morning, pulling in and pulling up and talking about it. Of course, more to come as we get back into our swing of things. But I do have a lot of things going on, trying to get taken care of. It's always love. I greatly appreciate y'all watching, tuning in. Be sure to continue to get those teams together, or just have to to pull up in Orlando 7 through 9 July for the men's and women's AAU Battle of the Shields. Um, 20 plus teams already for the men's side, 7 for the women's potentially. It's going to be a whole vibe out there. Teams, if you got players that you have your cat card that's going to give you access to be on the squad, just pull up and play. It's going to be a vibe. Be sure to tap in with Wayne Walcott, T Morris, if you're interested or potentially need to get on the squad. They might have some info for you to if you're a player, or like I say, y'all can just link up together and go do your damage. Um, Again, greatly appreciate y'all rocking. Look forward to talking to y'all on Monday. It's your boy Trey. First Formation. We out. Peace.